The first thing you'll need is a roll of painter's tape. This is like a low-tack masking tape used for painting houses. And you're going to take a strip of it and place it on your canvas. You can either go the long way or you can go the short way. Just a matter of preference, and either way we'll work it into our design. You'll also need some black acrylic paint. And we're going to paint that on. And this is to create kind of a boundary. Remember last week we were talking about frames and how they help define an area on your canvas. A little bit too much here. I'm always overly enthusiastic with the paint. If you had a palette, you could put it on a palette as well. Okay, so you're going to brush that on, and then we'll dry it. Okay, once it's dry, if you have some areas that didn't get covered over completely, you can go back in and brush a little bit more on. So you get a nice solid black border, and once again we'll dry it. Okay, rinse out your brush. Okay. So there you go, there's your stripe. Now you can take your tape off. And there you go, that's the nice thing about using the low-tack tape, is it comes off very easily. Okay, so as you can see, it can either be a border at the bottom or it could go on the side. Either way. I'm not going to worry about choosing right now. But the next thing we're going to do, you will need a pencil. You'll need a pencil, and once again your roll of painter's tape. You're going to place it randomly somewhere on your canvas and trace the inside of your tape roll. Okay, I don't know if you can see that there, but there's the circle. Okay, and we're going to be using our gesso again. And we're going to, because we already have paint on here, if we were to just try and layer color on, it doesn't work quite as easily. So I like to use the gesso, especially since we're going to be painting a bright color like a yellow over top of this. Okay, this is where you're going to hope that you haven't had too much caffeine and you're all jittery. So you have your circle on there. You're also going to need a smaller brush. And this one we're going to be using to make the rays on our sun. And what I like to do is just randomly paint some swirly little rays on here. And then you're going to want to fill them in with your gesso. Continue doing rays. Okay, you can see where they're going to be there. Once you have them on, you can go ahead and fill the rest of them in. And again, it's okay to go off the edge of your canvas. Okay. So there's my sun. Looks a bit more like a starfish, but I kind of like it. You can add as many rays or as few rays as you'd like. Okay, so there's my sun. Rinse out your brush. And you're going to want to dry this. You want that dry to the touch. And see right here where I want to fatten it up a little bit. I always like it when a ray or some object on my canvas extends past the edge of my canvas, because it gives it a feeling of motion, and then it's not quite as static. Okay, so once you have your rays painted on there, we're going to be using some yellow paint today. If you had a palette, you can use a palette, but as usual I use my paper. And you're just going to be going ahead and painting the sun yellow. Now the reason why we use that gesso, as you can see, it shows up nice and bright with the white underneath. If you'd had a dark color as on your canvas, it wouldn't show up quite as nice and brightly. Okay, so you're going to fill in your sun. Okay, so now we're going to add some dimension using oil pastels. I like to mix up my materials a bit, try to use everything that I buy. So I'm going to pick a yellow or an orange. I've got a dark orange and a red and a lighter color orange. Because I store these in a bag, they get kind of dirty as they all rub together. So I'm just going to wipe off the other colors on there so they're a little bit cleaner. Okay, so I'm going to start with rubbing on some orange. This is the lighter orange. I'm not going to fill in the whole circle, just part of it. Now, with oil pastels, you can rub them with your finger, but I find them kind of sticky, so I like to warm it up a bit with my heat gun. So, I'll just warm it up a bit. You'll see when it's warmed up because it gets a little glossy looking, but then it blends much nicer. And I'm going to rub it around. Okay, you see the difference that made already? It's starting to kind of come to life. I'm going to extend a little bit more of it down on my rays. I'll do on this side. Okay, and once again I'll warm it up. Don't warm them up too much, otherwise you will burn your finger, because that oil gets very hot. And if you find it starts getting all tacky feeling again and it doesn't feel as smooth to move around, then you can just warm it up again with your heat gun. Okay, can you see how that's changing the look? It's not a flat yellow now. Now I'm going to use the darker orange and rub a bit of that on. And warm it up. Okay, and the color is getting deeper. And then just a little bit of this red. And I only want a little bit of that, otherwise it'll be too overpowering. Okay, you can see how the color is building up on there. It's not a flat yellow anymore, and it's taking on a bit of dimension. You can go in and add a bit more color here and there with your oil pastels until you're happy with how it looks. It's kind of fun, a little addicting. Again, don't burn your fingers. I challenge you to try other shapes. You can do suns or moons, would be kind of interesting. I've done some with a moon before. Yeah, basically have fun, play with the pastels, play with the gesso, and yeah, I know some of you guys did more than one canvas, so I'd love to see what you guys have done. Okay, we'll see you again next week.